He's a prodigy with the sword, and one of the best living fighters during his age. Jaime Lannister may be arrogant and his character morally grey, but his skills in battle cannot be denied. At age 15, he became the youngest knight ever to be appointed to the Order of the Kingsguard. But why? Was he just that good? Or were other factors in play? In this video, we are going to answer these questions and find out how Jaime became the youngest Kingsguard ever to be appointed to the Sacred Order. Welcome to The Boar and the Lion. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. It helps me out a lot with creating future videos. And to everyone who is already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. To find out why Jaime was appointed to the Kingsguard at such a young age, we have to know for what reasons Kingsguard knights are chosen. The first reason, obviously, is their prowess with the sword. Kingsguard knights are not just chosen for their sword fighting skills, however. Loyalty and trustworthiness are another important factor that is weighed in the choosing of a new member. And during the 300 years that the Kingsguard has existed, we see periods of time where politics play a major role as well. To answer the questions regarding Jaime's ascension to the Kingsguard fairly, we're going to discuss these three factors separately, starting with fighting skills. Barristan Selmy is an excellent example of a knight who was chosen for the Kingsguard because he was just that good with a sword. Barristan entered the tournament as a mystery knight when he was just aged 10, and unhorsed Prince Duncan Targaryen and Sir Duncan the Tall, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard at the time, at age 16, during a tourney at King's Landing. While being a successful tourney knight, Barristan really proved himself on the field of battle. During the War of the Ninepenny Kings, also called the Fifth Blackfire Rebellion, Barristan cut a path through the Golden Company to slay Malus the Monstrous himself in single combat. Finally ending the line of the Blackfire Pretenders, Barristan became famous throughout the Seven Kingdoms. As a result, he was named to the Kingsguard at age 23. While it doesn't seem that way, Westeros is not always in a state of war. Therefore, knights do not always have the chance to achieve feats on the battlefield such as those of Sir Barristan. During periods of peace, knights can prove themselves during training with other knights, tourneys, and minor rebellions or uprisings. Jaime grew up in a period of peace. When Jaime was 11 years old, he was sent to Craighall to squire for Lord Sumner Craighall. At age 13, he won his first tourney melee. But the event that earned him his first little bit of fame occurred when he was 15 years old. At that time, an outlaw organization called the Kingswood Brotherhood was fastly becoming a nuisance. Operating in the Kingswood south of King's Landing, the Brotherhood kidnapped several nobles and evaded capture from the surrounding lords. The group was led by Sir Simon Toyne, a knight from a disgraced house. Other members of the group that were quickly gaining infamy were Big Belly Ben and the Smiling Knight, a deadly swordsman thought to be a madman. The Smiling Knight had killed Sir Victor Tyrell, a cousin of Lord Mace Tyrell of Highgarden, and the Brotherhood recently kidnapped Lady Jean Swan. When the Brotherhood attacked Princess Elia Martell, future wife of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, while traveling through the Kingswood, King Aerys took notice. The king sent a reasonable detachment of soldiers, led by several of his Kingsguard, such as Sir Barristan Selmy and Sir Arthur Dayne, to finally end the threat. Lord Sumner Craighall, and by extent his squire Jaime, were part of this detachment as well. When Sir Arthur Dayne finally won the small folk over to his side, the Brotherhood was no longer able to hide. On one occasion, Jaime saved Lord Sumner's life by protecting him from Big Belly Ben, although Ben was able to escape. In the final confrontation, the royal party faced off against the remaining members of the Brotherhood. Jaime came face to face with the Smiling Knight and successfully held him off while crossing swords, after which Sir Arthur Dayne killed the knight. Sir Barristan Selmy slew their leader, Sir Simon Toyne, and so the Brotherhood's days of crime ended. Jaime was knighted for the valor he had shown by Sir Arthur Dayne after the Brotherhood's defeat. While his actions in the campaign against the Kingswood Brotherhood earned Jaime his knighthood and his first bit of notoriety as a fighter, Can they be considered enough to justify a position in the Kingsguard? I think the answer here is a simple no. Although Jaime held his own against the Smiling Knight, who was regarded as an excellent fighter, that was all that he did, hold his own. Not enough to give a 15-year-old boy a white cloak. So let's take a closer look at factor 2, loyalty and trustworthiness. Protectors who are great with the sword have no real meaning when you could just as easily plunge that sword into your own back. When Visenya Targaryen persuaded her brother Aegon to form the first Kingsguard, Aegon wanted to hold the tourney to pick the best fighters. Visenya had other plans. She would not place men of uncertain loyalty about the king, no matter how well they performed in a melee. As a result, Visenya handpicked the founding members of the Kingsguard herself. These 7, apart from being strong and good fighters, were fully devoted to their king. It turned out later that she had picked well, as 2 of them died defending Aegon and all 7 served with valor to the end of their lives. Loyalty and trustworthiness can be found and measured in many ways. Most often it's a judgment of character, but there's no saying that a judgment of character is correct. The multitude of evil and untrustworthy men that have worn the white cloak are a testament to this. It seems that not everyone is as good a judge of character as Visenya Targaryen. Sometimes trust can be found through shared experiences. A good example of this is Sir Duncan de Tal. Through his shared adventures with King Aegon, 5th of his name, he would later become one of his 7 and even rise to the rank of Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Being related through blood can be another sign of loyalty. Aemon Targaryen, also called the Dragon Knight, served 5 Targaryen kings and eventually died while protecting his brother, King Aegon the Unworthy. Many years later, during the events of A Game of Thrones, Sir Loras Tyrell joins the Kingsguard in order to protect his sister, Queen Marjorie Tyrell. When Jaime was young, he only thought about 2 things. Those 2 things were fighting and Cersei. Jaime did not concern himself with loyalty or politics. Regarding his loyalty and trustworthiness, there are no arguments for Jaime to be considered as an overly loyal or trustworthy Kingsguard. On the other hand, Jaime's own actions didn't give reasons to see him as disloyal or untrustworthy either. Which cannot be said about King Aerys's perception of Tywin's actions. Tywin Lannister, Jaime's father and the hand of the king for King Aerys, at this point had a very troubled relationship with the king. With King Aerys's descent into madness complete, he was convinced that Tywin was scheming behind his back to place his son Rhaegar on the throne. The only reason Aerys did not dismiss Tywin as hand was because he was convinced that Tywin would have him assassinated. Regarding these facts about the king's relationship with Jaime's father, I would say that his loyalty and trustworthiness, as Tywin's son and heir, spoke against him rather than for him. Which leads me to conclude that he could not be chosen for this reason either. Which means it must have been the last factor, politics. Some kings did not see the order of the Kingsguard as just a means of protecting themselves. To have a younger son serve as a Kingsguard was seen as quite the honor by most of the noble houses. Therefore, positions as a Knight of the Kingsguard were sometimes given to sons of friendly houses to show political favor. This is often the reason for lesser fighters finding their way into the order. One example is Sir Meryn Trent, a son from one of House Baratheon's most important vassals. The books outright state that with 5 vacancies having to be filled after Robert's rebellion, and many of these filled because of political appointments rather than skill with the sword or loyalty, King Robert's Kingsguard is often regarded as one of the worst in history. Funny enough, Jaime's eventual appointment to the Kingsguard was not to show favor to House Lannister, but to spite them. And Cersei Lannister is said to have played a big part in it. Jaime and Cersei had loved each other from a very young age. While Jaime had been a squire for 4 years at Craighall, Cersei had been taken to court by her father. While King Aerys had rejected Tywin's proposal to marry Cersei to Prince Rhaegar before, Tywin still had hope for a royal match. At the same time, he was working on a match between Jaime and Lysa Tully, which would ally the Rock with the Riverlands. Jaime had been sent to Riverrun for a fortnight when he was 13, under the guise of delivering an important message to Lord Hoster Tully. He was seated next to Lysa at every meal, but mostly ignored her, preferring to listen to the war stories of Sir Brynden Tully, the Blackfish. After the defeat of the Kingswood Brotherhood, Jaime was supposed to return to Casterly Rock, a newly anointed knight. Because he had not seen his sister, and lover, in years, he decided to visit her in King's Landing on the way. While there, Cersei informed him of Tywin's plan to marry Jaime to Lysa. Jaime had no interest in marrying Lysa. He just wanted to fight and to be with Cersei. To achieve this, Cersei suggested that Jaime should become a knight of the Kingsguard. Old Sir Harlan Grandison had just died in his sleep, so a position was free. Jaime would have to give up his claim as the heir to Casterly Rock, but he would always be close to Cersei and wouldn't have to marry Lysa. After a night of passionate lovemaking, he agreed to the plan. Cersei told him that she would do the rest. Jaime returned to Casterly Rock. It is still quite uncertain what Cersei exactly did which led to Jaime's appointment as a Kingsguard, or if she did anything at all. If she was involved, it can't have been more than the power of suggestion. Aerys would take any opportunity to hurt Tywin at this point. And by naming Jaime to the Kingsguard, Aerys would rob Tywin of his prized son and heir, leaving House Lannister with a deformed dwarf as the next Lord of the Westerlands. A month after leaving King's Landing, Jaime received a letter at Casterly Rock that he had been chosen and had to present himself at the tourney at Harrenhal to say his vows. The plan had worked, but backfired very quickly. Tywin thanked the king for this great honor with gritted teeth. Afterwards, he feigned illness, resigned as Hand and returned to Casterly Rock, taking Cersei with him. Meaning Jaime and Cersei would once again be separated. At Harrenhal, a proud Jaime knelt before the king and was raised to the Kingsguard by Sir Gerald Hightower, the Lord Commander. This made him the youngest knight ever to be raised to the order. Jaime had never felt more proud. That same night, however, King Aerys denied Jaime the chance to participate in the tourney and sent him back to King's Landing to guard Queen Rhaella and Prince Viserys. It was at this very moment that Jaime realized that he was not chosen for his fighting skills, but purely as an insult to his father. The tourney at Harrenhal would be the first spark for the war which would become known as Robert's Rebellion, a rebellion which saw House Targaryen overthrown and House Baratheon become the new rulers of the Seven Kingdoms, and a rebellion which ended with the death of King Aerys Targaryen at the hands of Jaime Lannister, his own Kingsguard. Do you agree with my take on this? If you don't, let me know in the comments. If you do, what do you think Cersei did to get Jaime on the Kingsguard? Please let me know. If you like this video, please subscribe and don't forget to drop a like for the algorithm. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you next time as well.